Well, now we heard from Representative Duncan Hunter early on this morning and his comments, which make total sense. If you're going to send people back, which you have to in order to stop the flow, the only good thing so far that that Mexicans have taken from this AB 1070, they are, of course, screaming and raging, is many of them said, we're not going to Arizona. So obviously the bill is working on one level. Could we have a bill like that here in this state? And how will the federal government respond? We've heard Napolitano, Holder, and the president all criticize it and talk about action. Joining us now is Congressman Brian Bilbray. Congressman, good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning, Chip. Honored to be with you.
Well, you know, it's exciting to see this raised to a certain level. I worry about the politics of it, though. I worry that the politics could backfire on the movement. Do you have any worry there, too? I mean, as far as the elections this fall go?
Oh, well, I worry about more of the threat of what Washington will do to retaliate against the voters throwing them out. Harry Reid's already said that he's not going to talk about this or vote on this thing before the election, but he's already said after November in a lame duck session, he may bring this up. And I see a whole lot of people voted out of office, not running again, pushing it through, saying, "The hell with the voters. We can do this because they can't do anything to us." That's
a great point. I hadn't thought of that. You're right. There could be a massive lame duck action in between November and January. The Arizona law, for people that haven't read AB 1070, does not change any of the fundamental rights that we have in this country. But let me ask you, your interpretation of the 14th Amendment. Do we need to change? Do we need to change the way that the 14th Amendment is viewed and get rid of the outright birth citizenship? Do you think?
Well, first of all, Chip, you're right. Arizona, all they did is make the federal law state law. In fact, we have this kind of programs, the federal government, Obama ought to read the state law before he starts attacking it because it's the federal regulations that he's implementing. But you're right. What's happened is since the 40s, during the Truman administration, we started just not worrying about the details of the Constitution when it comes to birthright citizenship. We just said, look, it's not a big deal. Let's allow anybody who's in the country citizenship, or anybody who's on a foreign ship in our harbors, and they changed the rules the way it was enforced. The Constitution doesn't give everybody born on U.S. soil automatic citizenship. It says, you know, you've got to be subject to the jurisdiction at that time, and what it really means, your parents have to be obligated to loyalty and obedience to the federal government. You can be drafted and tried for treason. I think you know tourists don't fall in that category. Diplomats' kids today don't get automatic citizenship. So if this assumption that everybody gets automatic citizenship, Chris, you got to ask, then why don't diplomats' kids get citizenship? Why didn't American Indians born on U.S. soil were not given automatic citizenship because they could not be tried for treason? They weren't subject to the jurisdiction. Now, if the 14th Amendment doesn't give American Indians automatic citizenship, how in the world do we allow some Saudi Arabian tourist to get automatic citizenship for their child, or an illegal alien to get that, or some wealthy Mexican national who comes across from Tijuana to deliver a baby in Chula Vista? That parent, it will never be forced to have to serve in the military, and so it doesn't. You just got to understand, subject to the jurisdiction is a conditioning clause, and it's just as important as the reference to being born in the United States.
Let me ask you about a comment that Huffington Post and others are attacking. That you said trained professionals can identify undocumented workers by looking at their clothes.
Chris, look, this whole thing is people that have not been raised around the border. And that case is kind of classic where you had somebody reported a trespasser and a guy jogging north from the border in a jogging outfit and street shoes and dark socks. The officer obviously had probable cause when he saw the officer that something was wrong here. He got called to the scene, and he did make the contact. It was sort of a dead giveaway.
Right.
But you look at the big picture of the fact that if you pull over a van and 35 people jump out and run out of the back, does an officer have reasonable cause to think that somebody may not be legally in the country?
Well, first of all, when they run away from an officer who asks them a question, and then the officer asks them to stop, then you have your probable cause to stop the person and ask them questions. There's no elephant in a matchbox here. This is real basic stuff, and that's what everybody's talking about. You know, that nobody is going to go in and tell police officers. I had this one sheriff from Pima County who was talking about, we're not going to we can't just go round up people. Well, they're not going to be asked to do that. That would be a violation of the U.S. Constitution. But,
well, and it says in the Arizona law, it says for lawful contact. It conditions everything on the fact that the officer needs to be in the process of a lawful contact. But remember, these are the same people that threw a fit about Escondido having drunk driving stops. And they didn't mind if you do a drunk driving stop. They didn't mind if you took somebody in custody if they didn't have a driver's license. But if you call the immigration agents with somebody who didn't have any ID and you had probable cause to think they're illegal, then they start attacking the process. So, you know, it's kind of interesting. There's a double standard. What's okay for American citizens on American soil is not good enough for people that they think are illegally in this country violating our immigration law.
Congressman Brian Bilbray with us here. I would actually call for the dismissal of a police officer that just stops someone based on their skin color or identifying what he believed to be an illegal giveaway. If they have not violated some law or statute, you just cannot go up to people and start asking for identification. I don't want to live in that kind of country.
In fact, that is exactly what the Arizona law says. It specifically says you cannot use the ethnic background, the race, or any other just physical features of the individual as the justification for making the move. There's got to be other items to justify in the due course, like you said, of a lawful contact. And that lawful contact, again, is somebody runs a red light, you pull them over, they do not have any identification. In questioning, you get an indication, and so often, let me say this, so often you ask law enforcement, when a law enforcement officer says, do you have any, can I see your driver's license? I don't have a driver's license. Do you have any ID? No, I do not have any ID. Well, sir, do you have any identification or any documentation? They usually come right out and say, look, I'm illegally here. The overwhelming majority of people that are illegally here, when they're stopped by law enforcement, usually admit it up front. And that is just a matter of course. But the issue here is the amnesty people want to continue the sanctuary city program. And this is what Arizona is all about. It outlaws sanctuaries. It outlaws cities and counties that tell law enforcement, even if you know somebody's illegal, even if you have every reason to believe it, you must not do anything about it. You must be blindside on this one.
Should we be asking people coming across at the 8th stop for the Arizona-California border about plants and food and then legal status? Because they're guessing now 100 to 150,000 illegals could be leaving Arizona soon. Wow, some are going to be headed here.
No, what we ought to do is what Escondido's done quite effectively, and that is just implement programs that check to make sure that everyone is operating a vehicle legally, and that has been ruled constitutional. That the seatbelt check, the drunk driving check, the driver's license, and one of the big problems we have in this state is unlicensed drivers who've had their license revoked driving around. And the fact is, those in due course of process, you find somebody who not only has no driver's license but admits they're illegally in the country, you call immigration. But what they're saying is, oh no, officers must exempt people illegally in the country from the enforcement of any other law.
Congressman, great to have you on. I appreciate the time again, as always. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Chip.
Congressman Brian Bilbray with